Hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMtrain.tv, where every day is a good day to learn about the Claris FileMaker platform. Today is set day 2 of being live at Full Access. It's a regional FileMaker conference. So today is day 2. So what we do is we're randomly finding the people in the FileMaker community who are making a bigger impact to the community, bringing training, bringing technology, bringing new stuff to the community, and they have invested their personal time to be experts in this. So one of the people visiting us today is, well, the only person today is Mike Wallace. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome.
Happy to be back with y'all.
There you go, back in California. So Mike has been doing a lot of AI work with Claris and beating on them. And as people will tell you, the AI stuff is still in its early days. A lot of different people have different ideas and different takes on it. As a FileMaker person, my biggest concern is making sure that people have a good mental idea of what AI can do for them. Having it drive your car, maybe not be any life-threatening sort of jobs, may not be the best use of AI, right? And so with that in mind, we're going to welcome Mike. Mike has been doing some AI stuff, and he was talking to me earlier, and we were talking about like practical good use cases for AI. So, and that's in this presentation. So we're going to see how much we can fit in, because this is a 2-hour presentation he's going to shove into 60 minutes. All right, so Mike, why are you here, and why should, as I always ask, right, here it comes. Why are you here, and why should we give a
Well, I'm here. I'm presenting tomorrow on AI. I've been really dug in with AI, the AI Kitchen with Claris. Meet every week with them, helping guide where we're going with AI, doing a lot of testing. Some cool new things coming up that haven't been released yet that I'll be talking about tomorrow. And one of the biggest things that I want to get across to FileMaker developers is that there is an entry point now, and it's not too late to dig in, and that I would recommend not trying to build a massive agentic system, and instead build something that is just small, that you can do and with that. So yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'll get started talking about who I am and that kind of stuff here. Talking about giving FileMaker a brain. So historically, we've always developed in FileMaker up to the point where it's deterministic. You point A, point B, point C, and then we stop because we need a human to make a decision about something. And that's where AI comes in. When you have simple decisions that can be made off of obvious data, things like that, then you can go ahead and continue with that process to make it go from deterministic to more dynamic. So about me, my company is Empowered Data Solutions, and I've been working with FileMaker for about 20 years, with AI for about 2.5 years. Got my start with Richard Carlton. He's been great to me through the years. And I'm a bit of a mad scientist myself. I code for fun after I get done with my work. So starting off, if you went to Claris Engage and you saw the keynote with Ronnie Rios, he had a voice demo there that he did where he's talking to the computer and doing things. That was actually my code that he used to do that, and he talked about the fact, he's not telling tales out of school. He said that himself and told the thing. But I just want to show a little bit about that. So this is on the Claris Marketplace right now. Empowered Agents. You can go there and download it and play around with it. So it's open up a little thing to listen.
Companies by total dollar amount ordered in 2024.
So what it's doing right now is it's actually making multiple calls and deciding what tools it wants to use, and we'll talk more about tools here in a minute. But it makes decisions on what it wants to do.
Any more details?
And then
actually show that to me as a bar chart.
The bar chart is ready with the top 5 companies by total dollar amount ordered in 2024. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments.
Yeah, show me those records in the database.
Done. Let me know what you'd like next.
If you notice, it's sorted. The records that are returned are already sorted. They match the bar chart and other information that was given. They're in the order from greatest to least and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it has a lot of ability, and it just did it itself. I gave it There's no other secret magic other than the fact that I gave it those commands. And of course, there's prompting, that kind of stuff that goes into it. I want to run real quick over two different types of AI things that you're going to use when it comes to FileMaker and in general. There's an agentic workflow, which is like on the left-hand side there, where you have a script and you call AI either with our new functions or just with insert from URL, OpenAI or something like that, and you just make an LLM call and then make another LLM call and get your result. An agent is different in that it's in control. So you give it a task and you give it different tools that it can call. And those tools are, in our language, just FileMaker scripts. They could be a function, a script, or actually even like a Claris Connect flow or something like that. But all of this, it will loop through and continue to make calls and make decisions until it decides that it's done, and then it will give you its final result. So that's the difference between an LLM workflow, where it's just a straight shot, and an agent, which takes control and processes until it tells it it's ready. So if you were talking about how you're going to build an agent, or what are the parts of it, the anatomy of an agent, there's many pieces that work together to make it not a whole lot. It's not super complex. It's just that it's not just a call to an LLM. So the LLM, or a large language model, is the brain of an agent. So when you're working with Claris and with an agentic processing in FileMaker or something like that, you're making calls to an LLM like OpenAI's models like GPT-5 or whatever, and that brain is going to make the decisions on what it needs to do. Is it going to call a certain tool, or what is it going to do? And it doesn't actually do actions itself, but it calls actions. But so the one thing I do want to take a quick aside on this. So a large language model is simply a completion mechanism. So on your phone, you're typing on your phone and you say the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy, and it suggests dog is the next word. The difference is that they found out that if you dump a whole lot of information into it, then it gets better and better and better at predicting what the next word is. And that's all the large language model does. It over and over and over and over and over picks the most probable next word. And so, but the amount of data that was dumped into it, for example, for like say ChatGPT 5, if you were to read just to read at an average reading rate, all of the data that went in to make ChatGPT 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it would take you about 832,000 years. So it's a lot of data. I mean, if you were to print out all that information on paper, it would stack up to the moon and back 22 times. So it's a lot of data that they dumped through in order to get the functionality that was predicting the next word with that much accuracy. So that's when they say, okay, well, we can get it to predict the next word. That's great. Now we need to predict the next word in a more organized fashion. So in other words, like maybe have it return JSON, so that I can take what it returns and I can feed it right into my FileMaker script or to whatever, and have it a deterministic process, be able to pick up from there and run with what the probabilistic system gave. So those are two different things. We have an LLM is a probabilistic. It determines what's probably going to happen, versus a FileMaker script or something like that is deterministic. It's determined point by point what happens one after another. So the probabilistic engine says it gives us deterministic data, something that is this, say, okay, I want this JSON object with this key, and this key. And that's what I need to run my script. A lot of us use JSON when we pass parameters to a script. And if it gives us that in that way, then our script will just work. And so that's how we get to tools. So a tool is all it is an LLM returning its answer in a deterministic way that we can pass right into a script. And the tool is the script. And so in my functionality, all I do is say perform script by name. the tool that it told me it wanted to call, and I called my scripts by the name of the tool that I gave it. It's like, here's your list of tools, here's how you call them. And it says, okay, I want to call get weather with the city is Washington, D.C. And so it's a very deterministic thing. It tells me exactly what it wants to call. My script called get weather. I passed the parameter that it gave me, and it just runs perform script by name with that parameter. Now I have another step in there that where I verify the parameter, which is, there's actually and it's pretty cool. I think we have time. I'll just talk about it real quick. We have there's a free API that I take the JSON schema. So the JSON schema is just JSON that is a rule book for other JSON. So in other words, this is the JSON, and this JSON needs to have this, and this. And this first one is required, and the second one, it must be one of these three options, etc. It's just rules for how a JSON must be written. So I give that JSON schema to the LLM so it knows how to call my tools or my scripts. And then whenever it gives it back to me, I pass it through this API and compare what it gave me to the rule book. If it passes, then I run the script. If it doesn't pass, I send it back to the LLM. Nope, you did it wrong. Give me what I asked for. So, like I said, a tool can be anything that you can do with a FileMaker script. So if an LLM says I want to turn on the lights, you can write a FileMaker script that will turn on the lights. Interact with an API and turn on the lights. You can have a FileMaker script interact with Connect flows and do anything that Claris Connect can do, or scripts or whatever. So there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of power that can be handled through just anything you can do with a script. Another thing that you can do is that, like in my system, the empowered agents, one of my tools is call agent. So that means that I'm giving the power to this agent to call another agent. So I say I have different agents in the demo that I just showed y'all, where it had I have a data retriever agent, and I have a charting agent, and I have a navigation agent. I have these different agents that are responsible for different things in the system. And the primary agent, first, what happened when it was thinking something like that, it called the data retriever agent and said, hey, give me this data about the top 5 companies. The data retriever went and got that, gave it back to the primary agent. Primary agent called the next agent and said, hey, give me a chart that is for these top 5 companies. So that one agent can spawn other copies, so to speak, and it makes up its own prompt. So for example, when I tell that primary agent to do something, it's writing its own prompt to another call to an LLM saying, do this or do that. So it's very powerful, and all it is just a tool call that is spawning another agent. So other things that are part of an agent is context or instructions. You need to have, the better the context, the smarter and more consistent behavior you're going to get out of your agent. So you're just giving it instructions, goals, examples, things that to explain what's expected of the agent. Another long-term memory, where it can save and retrieve memory about previous conversations or whatever. So I'm not going to go under the hood on this one, but are there any questions about what we've gone over so far?
I don't, but I've been going through this stuff, so I need people who are maybe newer. Rive Lake can't see anything. I can't say anything yet. David Angel. Yeah, so we're just it's a presentation on kind of the AI and the positioning. And if we do this enough times for all the people on the live stream, eventually we all start to get it and hear it presented different ways by different people. Mike's got a different way of presenting this, which is good. And it's different. It allows, some of you won't understand this, but some of you who were confused before by Todd Geis will then understand what Mike says, because it's different, right? So different presentation. So yeah, so I think we're good for the moment, but we need these people to take. Can you show the last 2 slides again? You went too fast. That's from Lynn and Austin.
All right. So context and instructions. So the context and instructions is simply, there's going to be a lot of text that goes into the LLM. In fact, some of my prompts are like 2,400 tokens, which is about 3/4 of a word. So a token is how LLMs measure how much information they're receiving. And so about 2,400 tokens to make up all of the information about this. Okay, you should do this and you shouldn't do this, and always do the, and if you're going to do B, make sure you do A first, and all that kind of stuff. For example, I don't want it to make up anything, and so I give it a way to fail. In other words, when I'm in my prompt, I'll say, if you don't know, say you don't know.
Yes.
Because LLMs are famous for wanting to make you happy. They want to succeed. And so they're going to try to give you information even if they don't have it, unless you give them a way to say, no, what I want is you to give me truthful information, and sometimes you say, give me a confidence level. For example, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident are you in this information? Or explain your reasoning for how you got this decision, and things like that. So all of that, the different context and instructions that you give it are ways for you to, as well as examples. One of the best ways to teach an LLM is by giving it 3, 4, 5 examples. Okay, I want you to tell me the weather in Washington. I asked for the weather, so and so asked for the weather in Seattle, and then they said such a degrees and sunny. And then you do it, and I asked for the weather in Georgia, and it gave another temperature in the format that you want it to provide it in. And then you ask for your actual prompt that you just gave, which is what's the weather in San Francisco, and it knows from examples how to respond. And that is a really powerful way and a good way to get what you want. Another important part is to go ahead, whether you're working with ChatGPT or whatever you're doing, write your prompts with the LLM. Have the LLM help you write your prompts. Do a very general prompt to say, hey, I want to write a prompt that will help me summarize this page and make sure it gets all the important details, that kind of stuff. And so you give that to LLM, have it write a better prompt, and then you say, okay, now run that prompt. It will, and it will do that. And it doesn't care that you're being repetitive or anything like that. In fact, in a lot of things, if you're not passing back, if you're in ChatGPT, it has your history. It knows what you said previous. That's one of the powers of a chat interface, because you have the history of what you've said. But if I'm making an LLM call, for example, I just wrote one today to summarize a 2-hour video thing, and I had 4 steps to it. The first one I said is write a summary, and I described what kind of summary I wanted for the 2-hour transcript of this video. Second prompt I had, the second prompt had no history of the first one, other than the fact I said, take this summary that I have and grade it on the same criteria that I gave the first one, and tell me how it's good, the pros, the cons, how it can be improved, and give me that feedback. So I got that feedback from the second call. Then I passed that feedback and the first summary and all of the data I passed originally a third time and said, give me an improved prompt, improved summary off of this first summary with this feedback and all of this transcript. And
but does that work though? Because
yes, absolutely.
No, I understand conceptually, but you're asking, we're asking the same chat LLM to grade itself.
Yeah, and it works very well.
Seems to me that you'd want to ask a neutral third-party chat
but
LLM to evaluate it, because you're asking, hey, let me, like David Angel, you're on the Discord, like, tell me what you think you did today. And David's like, well, I'm amazing, and I get an A+. Well, David, why don't you evaluate your grade? Hey, A+? Nah, it was an A++ because I'm so awesome.
Right.
I'm nervous about asking someone for an opinion of themselves.
And that's the difference between a person and an LLM.
Okay.
And the LLM, as far as the LLM is concerned, it happened. It is grading somebody else, because I didn't pass it the history.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
say. It thinks it's a separate conversation.
As far as this is concerned, this is a brand new conversation. It's judging somebody else.
Okay. All right.
Because it has no history.
Okay.
Each call is unique. The first one, give me a summary. Second one, grade that summary and give me feedback about how I can improve that summary. Third call, take that feedback and the original one and improve the summary. Again, I'm passing the whole transcript every time as well. So I have the whole transcript, all the information it needs to do it. And then the last step I did was grade the 2 summaries. Give me your A to F grade on these 2 summaries and tell me your reasoning why.
And
And
this is, yeah.
and
This
it
is,
gave me good things. It gave me
yeah.
like it improved from like a B plus to an A or an A to A plus or something like that. It usually would bump it just a little bit. And its reasoning as to why it gave me its grade bump was good reasoning. So this is actually a very valid and a very documented way to improve your processes with AI. Having it grade itself, you can do human in the loop where a human is grading it. You can have even a weaker model can grade a better model, because once you have the answer, it's like
Yeah,
does that puzzle piece fit?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. So yeah,
So-
I'd want a different model. It seems to me this is going to be, because we talk about hallucinating as the fancy word for this is when it's essentially making stuff up, trying to keep you
Yeah.
happy. But I think it's going to, as people go forward, companies are going to get burned by AIs making it up, right? It's
Yeah,
going to
of course.
happen. And I think that it's going to become a big thing to have somehow a validation of the response
yeah, I had
almost
one in here.
almost built in. I mean, I know that we're
Yeah.
coding it now, but it's guaranteed going to happen. Some CEO is going to have his ass strung up.
Oh, they
Big
already
company.
have. Oh, yeah, they already have.
Well, we have our financial results. Yeah, we made $20 billion last week, right? And it turns out they lost $1 million or something.
Yeah.
Well, the
Well, because
AI, they go to
generally-
the CFO, and the CFO says, "Well, the computer said that," and they say, "What computer?" Well, we asked ChatGPT, and it got us the wrong financial results.
Well, 'cause
But
they're
you signed it.
generally incentivized to like make you happy. So as long it's going to tell you things that you want to hear, right? I've heard that as an issue with AI.
Right.
That's what Mike's saying. He's asking it to grade itself.
There's a lot of ways around that. And so it is all about prompt engineering. And it's all about there is a definite artwork to prompt engineering. And it is not just because something could happen doesn't mean that you can't set up guardrails around it.
Sure.
And that's what, and I actually had a slide here. I don't know what happened to it, but I have the little Frankenstein behind bars where, don't let the monster out, and you need guardrails. You need to have the AI check itself. And that's not the only thing. It's just having the AI check itself. And one thing you have to understand, like I said, you keep saying, well, I don't know if I trust it to check itself. It doesn't know it's itself. And it reacts the exact same way. If I ask Claude to check OpenAI, it would give me a same balanced answer as if I had Claude check itself or OpenAI check itself, because it's just a balanced answer. It's going to do its best to answer what I gave it, not to make itself look good. It doesn't have an ego. So another quick thing on that is being able to give it a way to complain, and this is something I've learned kind of recently. Giving it as part of my output that is like ordered and saying, this key and this value, this key and this value in like JSON or whatever. One of them is complaints. And I explain to it what that means. It means, is my prompt ambiguous? Is what I asked you to do confusing? Is what I asked you to do conflict with itself? And so that feedback I get, because I'll miss it. I have, again, thousands of lines or thousands of words of instructions that are constantly evolving, and it catches things. Oh, this paragraph up here and this paragraph here, that could be interpreted as a conflict. I wouldn't have caught that. And I do pass that back to LLMs, my prompts. I again constantly have it improve it. But it's when it tells me that it could be confused by something, it complains about something, that's just a checklist for me to improve my prompt. So that's just another way to do it. Giving the LLM a way to complain about what you told it to do is good. It's a good practice for being able to improve your prompts. So
Okay. Cool.
That's it. So long-term memory, this is just really easy for us in FileMaker, and a lot of this is easy for us in FileMaker. Tools are scripts. Memory is just writing something into a record in the database or something like that, and you can have it, decide when you want it to save something. I have, and we're not going to get into MCP today, but MCP is basically where you take the brain, the LLM outside of the work. So like I have Claude reach into my FileMaker database and do things, so like that. And like I have an MCP that watches everything I do on my laptop constantly, and it records everything I'm doing. It only stays local. It doesn't go out anywhere.
What app are you using for that?
It's called Pieces OS.
Todd used guys. He
Yeah.
was talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can actually just say, hey Claude, if I tie it to my database, then I can say, hey Claude, what did I do last Thursday? And it said, oh, you did this, 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 this. I'd say, okay, the first one is for this customer, the second one is for this customer. Go ahead and log my time. And it can reach into the FileMaker database and create those records and everything else. Come back with a check, so this is what I created, or this is what I want to create first, or whatever. So there's a lot of things that you can do with tools and such. I'm not going to go under the hood. So here's an example. So one of the big questions I get all the time is, okay, well, what does this mean to me? How can I use this? Everybody thinks that it's just something that they'll never be able to use. But the thing about it is the more same thing with ChatGPT, the more you use it, the more you find use cases for it. Same thing with using AI in FileMaker. You'll find my customers are coming to me now with more use cases. Hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? They get the AI bug just like you get the FileMaker bug. And then once they start realizing what you can do with it. So this customer, they're a virtual mailbox company, and their previous process is two humans were going through a bunch of images of envelopes and tagging them with the correct mailbox. Looking at the images, sometimes it has the mailbox in different places around. Maybe it says PO box, maybe it's like running together with something else or whatever. So they are manually going through and tagging each piece of mail going to the right mailbox. I took the envelope image and also the JSON OCR data from get live text with JSON function, and I passed that to the AI. The AI has the tool to be able to call the database to search for the mailbox and the customer, and it does those searches. It'll try 3-4 times until it says, oh, that's the right one, or it can't find it or whatever. It will try multiple times. If it finds a match and it's been verified, then it marks it good. Otherwise, it marks it that it needs review. And then the human goes through everything again. So we're replacing the first human in that group with the AI, and the second human is still verifying to the later on. I'm planning on running it 3-4 times with AI, and if it verifies multiple times, then I say skip the human. So get live text. The get live text as JSON gives you something like what's on the top as far as like boxes to show this piece of text is here, this piece of text is here, this piece of text. It actually gives you the top left corner and not the full box. But so I wrote a function, AI assisted to write it, but wrote a function that takes all of that data and turns it into something more that's on the bottom. So it actually gives me a bounding box, and in this bounding box are all of this text. In this bounding box are all this text. So this is what I actually send to the LLM because it's easier for it to realize, oh, that name is close to this address, it's close to this mailbox, so that it's easier to identify that that's probably the mailbox number or whatever. So just another step I took in doing that. Here's a video showing the tagging. This doesn't show a whole lot because it's just showing the processing of this, and I sped it up. So it's about 2 minutes and 12 seconds for this to run through and tag 25 items with the correct mailbox. And it's about 95% accurate, which is not bad for, you have a human in the loop, checking behind it. And so, I'm not really concerned about it, being, the 95% is good enough. I have a note in there that I'm planning on improving this process. And so that costs like 4.5 cents to run those 25 cents with the most expensive model, the GPT-5 model. And this is me doing the process myself. I'm really, really slow at this, so it's embarrassing. But so what they do is they look at the mail and they go over here and they'll type part of the name or top the mailbox, and they'll come up with a list of thing. They hit enter and then select, and that tags that mail piece. So this is the human doing the same thing that the AI was doing before. With the AI, an idea that I had that I haven't implemented yet is using perform script on server with callback in order to multi-thread. So multi-threading is where you do multiples of the same process at the same time. And so if I have the LLM, I say, okay, start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Start all of these to tag these 10 mail items. And then I'm just sitting here waiting. I'm spinning and waiting for it to, or just stop. Actually, the script stops because on callback, it's going to tell me what script to call. That's going to pick up the process again. Am I done yet? No. Am I done yet? No. Am I done yet? Yes, all 10 have processed. Okay. Or even one of the 10 has processed, so I'm going to send another one. It's a bounce back and forth. And this is a complex topic and kind of high level. But using performance script on server, you can spawn off multiple calls to thing and then just wait for each of those processes to come done. Keep track of it on this side of what is and isn't done and what you need to send next. So it's a complex thing, but it's definitely very feasible to be able to do that in a tenth of the time because you're running 10 of these checks tagging at the same time. So here's a bunch of different ideas I'm going to run through, and anything that stands out to you want to hear more
Ideas of
about.
what? So AI
This
being
is how
used.
AI can be used in FileMaker. Just different, throwing out different ideas of how you could build an AI process to do something in FileMaker. So deduping records. AI is really good at being able to compare two sets of information and say, okay, do finds. It can do its own finds. It can do semantic search. There's a lot of different ways, tools that you can give it to be able to look for other records that are similar to this one, and have it do the work for you. Then basically, the general premise that I go by is if I gave enough instructions to a junior hire, could they do this job? Yeah, it's probably a good fit for an LLM. And so if I can break this down into a structured way and say, here's your instruction to do this, and this is how you search for a person, this is how you search for a mailbox, that kind of stuff. And then if junior high could do that reliably, then right now we're fine for LLMs. We're easily at junior high level, if not at, I mean, a lot of them claim PhD level, and so deduping records, a smart merge of records. I mean, that's a very painful thing, but be able to look at, last man wins as far as modification and different things like that. Incomplete data that you can complete with data that's already there between these two records. A lot of those are decisions that a human needs to make, but the human doesn't need to make it anymore. Because if you can build out the instructions on what it means to merge these two records, then you can have the LLM do it. You just have to write out those instructions. Data validation and repair, where people are putting a whole bunch of junk into fields that shouldn't be, and they really should have been in other fields or whatever. Stuff that used to be a human had to go through and look at this text and figure out, oh wait, that's a phone number, oh wait, that's a whatever. The LLM could do that. Address normalization, taking where people put the PO box in the wrong place or whatever. A custom function can do that somewhat, but it can't make the determination as to what these pieces of data are supposed to be. In other words, if I look at an address block as a human, I can look at an address box and I know that's a street name, that's an address, that's a zip code. They put it in the wrong places and stuff, but I can figure out what it is and I can put it in the right place. So can an LLM. Data confirmation against policy. That's, again, whatever your rules are. It doesn't have to be strict data entry kind of rules. It could be, we have a policy here that we don't do such and such in these kind of records. And it can, in a fuzzy way, can check your data. Instead of it being hard, fast rules, this is more of a policy kind of rule that it can look at the data and make a determination about the data. That falls within a break of this policy. Sensitive data, PII. If you need to, two things. Either say you're exporting data in order to test something or whatever, but you have all your customer data in there and you don't want to put out all of their customers' data. LLMs can switch up that data, and what they do is you can write it so that it will first change it all up so it's unrecognizable, so you can send it off somewhere, even to OpenAI or something like that. So you have a local model, change your data so that it's not personally identified information, send it off to a large model that you may be concerned about your privacy, and it comes back, and then you do what's called rehydrating, where it takes that information that was changed and changes it back to what it was originally. And so that's something that LLMs can do. Something I thought of when I thought of this idea, I thought about FM starting point. I'm trying to get some demos ready for tomorrow that use FM starting point with some of that stuff. But notes history, summarize like so you have all these notes that you just in a lot of different places in the system where you're just adding more notes on the thing. Have just a little button there or a block, text block that you click on it and it does a summary of the whole history of all those notes. And it just, here's a blob that says here's the general and with a little happy face, frowny face, whatever, what is the has over there is that's on the next thing, but what is the mood of all of these notes? Is the customer generally happy?
Yeah.
Automated prompt movement, we talked about that. Automated documentation I'm doing for another customer. And so what that is, they have a massive system that is like over 100 files, over 500 tables. Their widest table is like 1,200 fields wide. The largest, let's see, they have multiple tables that are over or hundreds of millions of records. And so it's just a massive system. And it's been developed for over 20 years. And there's massive hit by bus risk going on right now where the main developer is going away and everything else. So I'm doing video interviews with him and the other developers. I have a team of 12 developers. They brought me in for AI. In my first step, I said, this is what we need to do. We need to document your system. So we're doing video interviews with all of the different developers about the system. And the AI that I built is going through and writing the documentation in a structured way off of those video interviews. And it's built in a way where it can be updated later. System and policy assistant. So your help in FM starting point. Why not have all of that information? And again, you could do it off of your videos. And like that videos that tomorrow I'm showing all of the videos from this year from Dig FM as a RAG source where you can go there and search and search for information. You do that with all your videos, training videos like that. You also can do it with all your videos that you were talking about FM starting point, where your help desk is now right there in FM starting point, and they can ask questions about the system, and it can answer off of the knowledge. It's not making anything up because you do the RAG where it does a search for the answer, and then off of this information that comes back, it says, okay, here's the answer. Just word it in a nice way. That's all it's doing. So, any questions on?
There was one, which I think Richard kind of said, but I'll ask it out loud because someone else might have it. You have separate conversations with AI per customer system. Like you're not having it's not all within the same conversation with an AI.
No. I mean, yeah, absolutely not. No, I mean, when I'm talking to most of the time when I'm talking to an AI, I'm talking to it through what I wrote. So it's API, which means they're not storing the information anyways. But on top of that, each of these AI conversations is unique in of itself. So
Yeah.
Like a customer would have their own AI account with whatever AI provider they're picking, right? Yeah.
Right. Or even a local model, that you're running things off. Of course, it's when you bring things local, you are 10xing the cost.
Yeah. So I think for David, yeah. So let me make sure I'm muted. Yeah. So real quick. So on this, I mean, if you have, say Mike has 10 customers and he's doing AI for 10 customers, it's not even so much that there'll be a different conversation for each customer. If he's working on this customer for the next 2 hours, he's probably going to have 15 or 20 different conversations that will all live and die in that period of time. Right. And so there's separate conversations within a customer that don't cross-pollinate, never mind anyone else. So they are very transient in nature, very limited, I think, unless you're trying to have an AI that's have an ongoing.
Right.
I don't. Is that a thing where you would have an AI where you would like keep talking to it and day after day, and then one day it gets psychotic and tries to kill you or some? How does that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even OpenAI has now knowledge of previous conversations where it didn't previously. So when you're working with ChatGPT, it will start to know you better and better. And so it will.
But that's a reset thing you can reset, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
And same thing with like I have external data stores, like the where I had the slide about the file drawer and the memory. I have part of that Pieces OS is that I can have it store information there for me as I'm working. I say, hey, remember such and such, and it will go and create a note in the memory that it can access later. And like for example, one of its instructions is, anytime you're doing something for me, go check Pieces first on how you should do it.
Yeah, it's important because one of the things that if I built a solution for a customer and say it was in starting point, but I'd want it reset when I wanted it reset, I wouldn't want it to carry over previous what we call baggage, right? From previous, yeah. So maybe the baggage is important, but you're saying we have control over that, which I've seen that with prompts. We have prompts, but normally when we've done it, it's been normally a fresh reset. We don't carry stuff more than 4 or 5, 10 minutes, and then it's
right. The only again, it would be more of a tool where it would have the ability to go and fetch and do a search for information the same way you would do a RAG search. Are the people in the audience familiar with what a RAG search is?
Some of them.
Okay,
yeah, some of them, but no, not me and RC are familiar with it, but I wouldn't guarantee the whole audience knows what a RAG is.
So retrieval augmented generation is the fancy word for what it means, but all it is I dump a bunch of information that the system can semantically search. So that's the word that means it searches by meaning, not by words. So basically, it's like taking a fishing pole and throw it in the pond in the area where you know those fish are that you want, and then it pulls back a group of those, and you sort through them and answer the question off of what you get back. So that's what the retrieval augmented generation is. And so you can use that to add memory as well. So in other words, you can store, hey, remember this, and it writes something off to memory that it can retrieve later.
So it can add like an entire past conversation to the RAG, and therefore it'll have access to it going forward. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
You can do status updates off of time logs. For example, having your engineers, what they log in their time automatically report up to you in a better way. Like I remember back in the day, we used to write our own little summary of what we've been doing. Well, this could do that for them and just give you the results. Name parsing. You have a lot of different things in names, whether or not it's single letter names or, Van Helsing, and where that's not actually his middle name or, and so things like that it can recognize and parse names correctly. Taking an email in and creating a new contact or updating a contact off of all the information from the signature and other things in the email. RAG prompts. I was actually really thrown by how LLMs prompt RAG. So when it's going to find, I'll ask a question and have the LLM do a RAG call as a tool. What it sent to find was not a sentence. It was not my question. It was a bunch of words strung together that wasn't in a sentence order, but the overall, if you look at the individual overall meanings, kind of strung together, it made the bait that it needed to catch when it went to catch. So it's kind of like my wife is deaf, and so I know sign language, and the word usage is completely different, structure is completely different, but individual key words, if you take those and put them together, it's not a sentence, but it has meaning. And so it uses that kind of thing to do a RAG search and gets better results than what I would have had if I just embedded my question and something like that. Another thing about RAG prompts is a cool idea of doing a multi-hop RAG. So a multi-hop RAG is where I ask a question like, what is, like for this other customer, what is the main layout that is responsible for the part of the database where we are interacting with customer, sending information to customers? So that's a complex question because there's multiple questions inside there. What is the part of the database that deals with sending information to the customers, and then what is the main layout? So having the LLM break that into multiple questions, answer the lower level questions first, and then use that data to answer the other question. So it's a more of a complex topic, but you can build up. You can go very deep into all this stuff. So I just want to let people know that you can get in easy, but it's a very deep pond. So just because you think, oh, I know what RAG is, it goes a lot deeper than that. automatic categorization, user sentiment, that kind of stuff. All right, you have questions, and that's about it. So if you don't have any questions, then
There
I'm
was a
happy.
discussion from David, which you already covered, but I'll recap it since we've got the 10 minutes. Let's say you pass an invoice image to ChatGPT and teach all the fields it should update in your fields, like what fields it can access and update. You don't want to teach it every time. How do you avoid teaching it every time? Does it have to be included in the prompt? Is that part of the
Yeah.
DDR that you send over, or?
Yeah, I would. The get table DDL is a great way to do that. And so you use that function to get the structure of your table that you're putting it in. And right now you just add a comment on the thing, and then that will show up in the DDL describing what each of the fields do or whatever. And it's also really good at just figuring out itself, but also, so you just pass that information along with the image of the thing and have it come back tell it to format its response as JSON that you can read right into your script to parse that image. It'll work beautifully.
Hopefully that answers your question, David. If not, let me know.
Those are good questions. Yeah.
They're good questions. Also, the list of stuff that you covered is interesting because there's stuff that you talked about that I hadn't seen before.
Mhm.
Also, you mentioning how it talked to RAG, because RAG is like the one thing I've really actually been interested in terms of AI because I could see a lot of things you could do with that.
Right.
But the fact that it talks to RAG in a weird word construction, so do you have to ask it to make its own RAG prompts, or is it translate the prompt that you send into what's considered an acceptable RAG prompt? Is that what's happening?
So basically, the same way that it calls a tool that may be another agent or it may be something else. When I tell it to do something, it's going to decide the best way to do it. So it's automatically, because it's an agent and it has agency, which is where we get the term of agent, free will. It makes its own decisions. It's deciding to word it in a specific way. Another LLM might just send exactly what you said over. But you can tell it in the prompt, hey, optimize this to get the best results for the RAG. So the user doesn't see that. That's part of the system prompt. So you tell it in the system prompt, optimize the user thing to be the best possible results for RAG retrieval. And then when they ask a question, it shifts things around and says, oh, I think that this is not clear. For example, if they say 5-star rating, well, 5 doesn't semantically 1 and 5 are identical almost. They're both numbers, so the meaning of them is basically the same. So that's why when things like that, you want to say customer really likes, customer really dislikes, customer is neutral about. So you take a rating system and you turn it into words that will embed better whenever you're doing the semantic search and that kind of stuff. So sorry if I went 1,000 miles an hour and left everybody in the
Yeah, we
dust.
got about 10 minutes or so, and we got to wrap up. So whatever you want to cover in that period.
What's your favorite thing to do with AI so far?
Favorite thing to do with AI is my own agent that I wrote that goes out and watches my mail for certain newsletters and certain YouTube channels and downloads the transcripts and summarizes the stuff for me and tells me, hey, you should watch this video, or just gives me like a paragraph summary of it because it doesn't meet the criteria of what I'm looking for.
That's cool. That's nifty.
So it saves me a lot of time,
How long does that take you to do?
Really not that long.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, because it's I've gotten really good at prompting, and so in fact, let me see if I can.
You want to show us like a couple of your prompts? Because I'm curious as how long your prompts are. Because some people prompts are like generally going to be pretty hefty.
Right. So this is something I wrote. This is a little web widget that is the same information as over on the right-hand side with my prompts, but it allows me to do things like dragging this prompt around. Man, it's so slow. I don't know if it's gonna work.
Does the order of the prompt matter?
Yes, it does.
Really? Okay. How so? How does it matter?
Because well, one, there's some things that sometimes will get lost in the middle. So if you need to emphasize it, it's better to be at the beginning or end. And there's other things that, it makes more sense if you explain A before you explain B. Like in other words, you're going to do this. This is how you do it. Versus this is how you do it. Do what? this is what you're going to do, So, but I can drag these around to reorder them or whatever, and it automatically will update the thing on the side whenever this. Wow, this is slow. But yeah, there you go. So like now the role and objectives on top, that kind of thing. So as you can
Got
see,
it.
this one is like 3169 tokens. So what would that be? And see 3169 time, what was it? That'd be divided by 0.75. If we're talking about getting into words for about 4,200 words. So and I have it where I can click on one individual section, and this will be in the new Empowered Agent V2 when I release it. And I'm also going to add automated prompt improvements so that you can tell the LLM, hey, this isn't acting the way I want. I said this and it said this. That's not what I want. And if I thought I had it in my prompt saying, don't do that. And so it will look through your prompt and say, okay, you have these two things are conflicting. That's why it's, you tell, do this and don't do this, and so you're conflicting. And so it's confused, things like that. And so it will help you reword your prompts and things like that, just right within here. So, but yeah, so this is
nifty, actually. Is there a version of this file that is available to download? You said you're in a V2. Is V1 somewhere floating?
V1 is on it's on my website, which also you can see on the Claris marketplace. That's what I showed in the very beginning, with where you can talk to it and that kind of stuff. And it does have an example in there, for example, of the documentation for that file is a tool. So I can ask the LLM about the file, and it will give me hints about what it can do, which I think would be really good for I think someone said you were talking about using proof chat or something like that with FM starting point or whatever.
That is correct.
So having that fed with information about FM starting point, where they can ask about FM starting point and get help without having to call y'all for every little thing, would be good.
Yeah. So we've been playing with that. That continues to be an ongoing project. But yeah, it's a product that those guys are working on at Proofgeist, and so yeah, that's an exciting development. Just trying to figure out the essential things that are done to make sure that we can provide value with the AI, right? Talking to AI is one thing, but it was something that we were doing like business cards or something like that. Like, hey, I find find the image business card and put this in there. But the first way it came to us was through with Proofgeist, was the whole thing with they were doing it in chat. And I'm like, hey, nothing personal, but that I don't want to have a conversation with the AI. I want to just do it. And they're like, oh, well, then we're going to do this whole prompt processing. So understanding that people could do it through chat, but I don't really want to have a conversation. It should be a cookie cutter thing. And so there's lots of conversation going on around that area. And then
so that is in the Empowered Agents thing. There's that one script that I talked about that is a tool call agent. That's also your main door into just calling an agent with text. So tell me what the agent is and what do I want to ask it to do. And you call a script with those two parameters, and it goes off and runs and does a process like what you're talking about, rather than a chat.
If people, the chat. I mean, if you're trying to have a conversation, but I think it's when you get into business and you're going 5,000 miles an hour, you don't want to have a conversation with it. You just say, tell it to do it, because you've already established what you want it done. If people want your tool, where do they go to find your tool? How do
on the Claris marketplace, or you can go to empowereddatasolutions.com and you'll find it there as well.
Okay, cool. So the Claris marketplace. I'm assuming they're maintaining that. That's an interesting thing. I'd forgotten that was even a thing. They don't have, your website probably the best place to get it. Yeah. So empowered, would you say empowered?
Empowereddatasolutions.com. In fact, it's up in the top of the window there on this screenshot here.
And there's going to be a follow-on session you're doing that's being recorded today.
No, tomorrow I am presenting this in the full length. And they're presenting it live on Dig FM.
Perfect.
And so that will be broadcast tomorrow at 3:30.
Perfect. So if people want to check out the Dig FM broadcast, they're welcome to do that. You can do a search for that. That's the Used to be the Southern Bay Area user group that used to be at Claris's building before they. Yeah, exactly. So they were, so that's all virtual meetup now. But yeah, you do that. 2-hour presentation. So if this was good, you like this, you want to see more of that, come check out Mike Wallace at Dig FM and DIG FM and check their schedule. And they can sign up and come to that live stream without any problem, right? Yeah. All right, Mike, I greatly appreciate coming on today. Greatly appreciate it. Once again, if they want more information about Mike and his company, it's at Empowered
Data Solutions.
Empowered Data Solutions.
EmpoweredDataSolutions.com.
Okay, Empowered
There
Data Solution. Cool. All right, with that, everyone, I greatly appreciate it. We will catch you tomorrow.